fight under Ben Davison against the southpaw. Doesn't tend to like southpaws, AJ, or he hasn't in recent times. A tricky, awkward southpaw in Otto Wallin, one that AJ has defeated in the amateurs twice, but has been on a great run of form. Went to Turkey, which is more or less away ground for his last fight, and pulled off a good win against a former cruiserweight champion, of course. And now coming here, he's wanted the Joshua fight for ages, desperate for it, in fact. He's got it. It's going to be the biggest fight of Otto Wallin's life, not the biggest fight of AJ's life. So motivation comes into question as well. Steve, what are your kind of initial thoughts about this one?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest fight of Wallin's career, and he's got to take the opportunity, really. I mean, first of all, it's great that all the fights appear to have held up on the card. When you see these cards sometimes on the box rec
Well,
schedule,
we're not there yet.
just about, it's amazing what the power of a guaranteed payday can do to keep fighters fit. So we're thankful for that on this fight week. It's up to Wallin, I think, how he approaches this fight. He's a naturally reserved boxer. We saw that against Gassiev, as you said, a fight that he got by on a split decision. But he can cause issues with his movement. There's no doubt about it. AJ hasn't beaten a southpaw since Charles Martin. We saw the issues that he had with Usyk over the two fights. In the second fight, he found a little remedy, a little key to the door, I felt, which he could maybe exploit against Wallin as well. If Wallin gets into a groove, I think he's going to be really hard to budge. And AJ's mindset is key. The old AJ would have come forward with confidence. I think he would have got stuck straight into Wallin, put him on the back foot. This version is a little more apprehensive, a little more cautious. And someone mentioned about the training situation as well, about Ben Davidson, who can now, for all the much maligned trainer, he can say he's trained two heavyweight world champions. I was talking to my friend Des, shout out to Des, and he seemed to think that the fact that Joshua's joined up with Davison could be a good thing because it kind of takes him back to basics instead of overthinking things. He could go back to the sort of basic things that served him so well earlier in his career. So if you can look at Wallin and think of Gary Cornish or somebody like that, then maybe you'll be able to get him out of there. But as you said, if Wallin gets into a groove and he feels the confidence starts to grow, I think it could become a very tricky night for Joshua.
Yeah, the Ben Davison thing's interesting. You say like you can say he's trained two heavyweight world champions, although it should be noted that neither of them have reigned as heavyweight world champion while under his tutelage just yet. I think him and his team have done absolute wonders with Lee Wood, who's probably the most improved fighter in Britain at this point, and a genuine world-class fighter, and has become that genuine world-class operator under the tutelage of Ben Davison and with help from the likes of Barry Smith and Lee Wiley. I think it's a good link in that there's a team around him. You know, they've got strength and conditioning there. They've got video analysis. They prepare thoroughly. It's real diligent. It's a real different way from the majority of trainers in how they prepare, how much detail they go into. For someone like AJ, who is prone to overthinking and second guessing himself, having other people kind of give him the answers and say, you need to do this. Here's why. This is how you employ it. I think he'll appreciate that. It is local for him. He gets to stay local. He gets to, have a certain amount of home comforts, which might be reassuring for him as well. And I guess something that's been mentioned quite a lot is that Ben Davison was the man in Tyson Fury's corner when he fought Otto Wallin, which, although it wasn't Fury's greatest performance, and indeed he was given a lot of trouble by Wallin, it does mean Davison's got those 12 rounds under his belt studying him and also studying Wallin previously in the training camp and working out what he's good at, what he's not so good at. And maybe Fury didn't employ exactly what Davison and the team wanted him to do in that fight. But I don't think Wallin's changed a great deal. He may have improved, but I don't think his style's changed particularly from back then. So having that sort of intimate knowledge of Otto Wallin's style and just the southpaw in general, because AJ's maybe not comfortable necessarily against southpaws, I think that'll help a lot in the Ben Davis thing. Now, let me get back to the chat because I've seen loads of comments flying through. Where are we? DB Cooper 1, greetings from Radio Rahim's basement, Beverly Hills, California. He doesn't live in California at the moment. To the channel host and chat, I'm so excited for the boxing this weekend. Timo Hoffman, what can Lyndon do when his only punch to jab is only half as good as Bivol's jab? I'm not sure I agree with that. I don't think he can do much in this fight. I think he will lose to Bivol. However, I do think his jab is one of the best jabs in the division. Conding says Fury versus Joshua has to happen at some point, no matter what. Would be criminal if they never fight. Yeah, but it's a lot harder to build when they're coming off defeats. We might end up with it like Brooke Khan towards the end of their careers when it is just for bragging rights. We shall see. Little Crypty Monster, did you see Ben Davison's face when AJ was hitting the pads with him? Ben's hand was stung by AJ's power. I don't think many people would say that Tyson Fury is a bigger puncher than Anthony Joshua. It's just he's got a better all-round game, I think would be the argument. Conding, Valin struggled against Kamil Sokolovsky. I predict the old AJ returns and stops Otto within 3 rounds. I don't think you can judge him based on a fight against Kamil Sokolovsky a long time ago. I think he's had a few quality wins since then, especially the most recent one where he went out to Turkey and did it against the odds. So, yeah, I think that's a little unfair. My very happy day says AJ's fighting stiffs now. He is washed up, to be honest, no heart. I don't think Otto Valin's a stiff. I think that's very much underselling him. I think the wins on his record compare with many of the fringe contenders towards the back end of the top 10. So, yeah, I think that's a little unfair, or more than a little. Horseman says, Ben Davison aiming his training for an absolute smash and grab against Otto over within 3 rounds. Easy for me to say. Only way to beat Otto both mentally and physically. Yeah, I can understand why that would be the case, but you don't want to drum that into AJ because then what if he doesn't manage to get him out of there in the first few rounds? Is there a plan B? Will AJ confidence take a knock? Timo Hoffman, Ben will be filling AJ's head with bullshit diagrams and heat maps, confusing him more. What about Venn diagrams? Let's not forget those. Ed Nelson, Otto has to be taken serious as one slip up could cost his complete future. Yeah, well, that's what we kind of said in the poll that, this could be it for AJ. He can afford to lose to the likes of Usyk, but I don't think he can afford to lose to an Otto Wallin at this point in his career. DB Cooper 1, AJ going to see a southpaw in Wallin and immediately revert back to cautious boxing because of PTSD from the Usyk fights. He'll stand there boxing whilst being jabbed with a bashed face before he KOs Otto. So you see a Hellenius-like performance, I see. Little Crypty Monster, can you tell I'm Team AJ? Lol, we can tell. Andre Newby, Anthony Joshua has been Ben Davis now. What, the Tottenham right back? Does he still play for Tottenham, Ben Davis? Probably not. And Ben Davis used to train Tyson Fury before that. Yes, we just talked about that. Andre Newby, I probably should have read that a bit earlier. Conding, Ben Davis and not Ben Davis. Thanks, Conding. Not the Tottenham player, if he even still plays for Tottenham. My football knowledge is worse than my boxing knowledge. DB Cooper 1, agreed. Ben Davison suits AJ to a T, read game plans, analysis, etc. Derek James admits himself he's hardly ever seen AJ box, never mind the wider heavyweight division. James is like a PT with 3-hour slots. Whew. Derek James catching strays. Horseman, when you watch AJ against Usyk both times for a heavyweight, he boxed actually quite well against Usyk. I agree, especially in the second fight, which would be enough to be Otto Wallin. Apologies for any spelling mistakes. I think just the last one. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. That performance he put on against Usyk the second time might be enough to beat Wallin, but I think Wallin's going to be incredibly motivated for this. AJ's going to make a statement this weekend, folks, says Little Crypty Monster, who just outed himself as an AJ fan boy. Conding, Horseman, I really did. Oh no, we're not getting involved in that spat. Andre Newby, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury is a monster fight, and they should make a movie on DAZN Netflix time. My very happy day. No one cares about AJ. I don't know. Still does pretty good figures for AJ related stuff on our channel. Even if he fights Wilder someday, he loses often. Andre Newby, Usyk versus Tyson Fury is in February the 17th. Yeah, we know. We're going to be talking a little bit about that in the last quarter of the show. Yeah, so Steve, how much do you think motivation plays a part in this one? Because as I've alluded to there, for Anthony Joshua, this is a semi-final to get to Wilder. It's the latest stage in a rebuilding job under the latest trainer that's involved in Ben Davidson. Time will tell if that ends up being a long-term partnership. For Otto Wallin, this kind of is his world title fight. He's the IBF number 1, right? IBF number 2. So he's in line when Tyson Fury is stripped or vacates the IBF belt. Not Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. I'm getting ahead of myself. Vacates or is stripped of the IBF belt. He's in line to fight Hrgovic for a vacant world title in what you would consider a winnable fight for Otto Wallin against Hrgovic. He's turned that down, and I don't think it is just for the Saudi money. I think he's wanted the Joshua fight for a long time. And he recognises that upsetting Joshua will mean a lot more for his career, his profile, his earning potential than winning a vacant world title that not everyone would respect against Filip Hrgovic. Do you think motivation comparison between Joshua and Wallin will play a factor in this fight?
Yeah, I think motivation is a key word, actually, overall. Like you said, they've seen something in Joshua. They fancy they're going to get him at the right time, in the right place. The payday in Saudi as well helps. That is the motivation is huge for Val. and he cannot allow it to slip away the way he did, arguably, in the Fury fight. I know there was mitigating factors there, but he has to
Sure.
take this opportunity now. Key motivation for him. As for AJ, what motivates him? Is he dead set on getting the Wilder fight? Does he really want it? We've been told for 6 years now this fight's going to happen. Is he fed up like everybody else waiting for it? Is he motivated by money? Has he made enough already? Does he want to enhance his legacy? Does he look at the two Usyk fights and say, I tried, I came up short? What motivates the respective fighters? When it comes to motivation, it's all on Valin's side as far as I'm concerned, which makes him a dangerous proposition. AJ can't afford to take his eye off the ball on this one whatsoever, because that's when Valin is going to slip in. Nice trainer as well, Valin's got. I think Joey
Mhm.
Gamache behind the scenes. He'll have a game plan all made up for him as well. So their respective motivations will play a key part, I think, as the fight starts to progress on Saturday.
And not only is he a good trainer, Joey Gamache, and a former really good fighter, of course, but he's also been with Otto Wallin for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And they know each other incredibly well. He'll trust him in the corner. If things are going against AJ in the corner, 4 or 5 rounds in, how much is he going to rely, trust, and listen to what Ben Davison says? Not because there's anything wrong with Ben Davison. I'm not one of those boxer-sized Ben critics. Do you know what I mean? I think Ben Davison's a very, very good trainer. I think he's done wonders with Leewood and with some other fighters. But my point is, if you've only worked with this guy for 6 months, even if you've known him kind of to a certain level before that, how much are you going to listen and take on board what he's saying? Not because you think he's not a good trainer or he doesn't know what he's talking about, but just because you haven't got that bond. It hasn't grown in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Not to that extent.
But from the trainer's perspective as well, do you know what buttons to press? Right, we need
Yeah.
to put a firework up his backside, or do we need to give him calm instructional advice? When you've been with a fighter for a long time, you kind of know which buttons to press at the right times. But as you said, when that relationship hasn't been nurtured yet, you could be giving him a complete bollocking, and maybe that's the last thing in the world they need in the corner.